One of the most fascinating and long-lasting legends among the natives of the Solomon Islands is the tale of monstrous giants. According to tradition, these enormous beings are said to reside in caves and inhabit a network of underground tunnels that connect the islands. Opinions about these giants differ significantly. Some believe they are benevolent protectors, while others view them as malevolent and dangerous, with chilling stories of the giants hunting, killing, and even eating people. For many years, these accounts were dismissed as mere folklore. However, extensive research conducted by multiple individuals is beginning to reveal evidence that there may be some truth behind these ancient legends. The Solomon Islands have a rich and captivating history that stretches back hundreds of years. According to legend, King Solomon of Israel dispatched his trade ships across the globe to gather the most precious treasures. The immense wealth of King Solomon, documented not only in the Bible but also in other literary works, became a symbol of prosperity that many aspired to obtain. During the Age of Exploration, Spanish explorers, well versed in this historical narrative from biblical texts, used these accounts as a guide. They followed the same trade routes and stories described in ancient Jewish writings, hoping to uncover the wealth and treasures once sought by King Solomon's fleets. The islands were finally discovered by the Spanish explorer Álvaro de Mendaña in 1568. Sailing from Peru, he came across these beautiful, untouched lands. Mendaña was convinced he had found the legendary source of King Solomon's gold for the temple in Jerusalem, so he named the islands the Solomon Islands in the king's honor. For hundreds of years, rumors of vast riches circulated, attracting treasure hunters from around the world. While Mendaña's claims of discovering gold were never verified, modern companies have managed to extract significant amounts of gold from the same islands he explored. This has led many to believe that he might have been right, and that large quantities of gold could still be buried somewhere in the earth, waiting to be found. Interestingly, the Solomon Islands are not primarily known for their supposed gold deposits. Instead, they are famous for the legends of giants said to inhabit the islands. According to witness accounts and descriptions, these giants stand about 10 feet tall, with some reportedly even larger. They have long hair, typically black, brown, or reddish, red eyes, flat faces, and large mouths. Despite their fearsome appearance, some believe these giants are intelligent beings with their own societies and social systems. The natives of the Solomon Islands think that thousands of these giants may live there, using intricate cave networks to move around undetected. Now, I know this might sound odd and strange because giants are, well, giants. It seems impossible to hide 1,000 of them. But here's the thing, the Solomon Islands aren't the only place with stories about giants. In Nevada, thousands of miles away, the Paiute Indians have legends of the Sitka, red-haired giants as tall as 12 feet who lived in the area when the Paiutes arrived. These giants were not friendly and were said to prefer eating people over animals, making them quite unpopular. The Paiute tribes had to set aside their differences and unite to fight the giants. They successfully killed most of them, but the surviving giants took refuge in a cave. The tribes then piled brush into the cave and set it on fire. Any giants that tried to escape were shot with arrows, and the rest died from smoke inhalation. This cave, originally known as Horseshoe Cave, is now called Lovelock Cave. Lovelock Cave, located about 20 miles south of Lovelock, Nevada, has yielded fascinating discoveries over the past century. Archaeologists have found oversized human skulls, 15-inch sandals, and massive handprints. These finds continue to intrigue scientists and the public. What's striking is the similarity in the descriptions of the giants and their behavior, closely matching the stories from the Solomon Islands. These similarities suggest that tales of giants are not unique to one culture, but are part of a broader human experience, spanning different continents and centuries. This cross-cultural phenomenon raises intriguing questions about the nature of these legends. Were they purely mythological, or do they contain elements of historical truth? The consistent details in the stories of giants from different parts of the world hint at a possible shared memory or a series of encounters with unusually large human-like beings. Unlike the United States, where any mention of something extraordinary is often met with layers of deception, denial, and sometimes threats, Peru takes a different approach by openly showcasing its discoveries to the public. In Peruvian history, Inca kings were notably large, with some having red or blonde hair. In Lima's Gold Museum, visitors can still view the clothing and remarkably large head of an Inca king who stood around 10 feet tall. His preserved dried head is roughly twice the size of an average human head. Unlike the US, where such findings might be suppressed, Peru features numerous places where giant skulls and skeletons are on display. These skulls often exhibit unusual characteristics and are generally not as ancient as many assume, often dating back just a few hundred years. There are numerous accounts and artifacts suggesting the existence of giants throughout history. For instance, in a copper mine in North Wales, archaeologists uncovered a 64-pound sledgehammer dating back 3,500 years, hinting at the strength and size of its wielder. Similarly, giant axes, swords, and other imposing weapons have been unearthed in places like Iran, Arizona, California, Ohio, Peru, and the Solomon Islands. These discoveries challenge conventional views on human size and capabilities in ancient times. One particularly compelling narrative comes from Marius, an aircraft and helicopter engineer who worked extensively in outback Australia and later settled in the Solomon Islands. Having served in the Royal Australian Air Force, Marius was drawn to the Solomon Islands' rich culture and folklore. His immersion in the community was deepened by his marriage to a native islander, which further integrated him into local life. Over time, Marius became intrigued by persistent local stories about giants. Initially skeptical, he gradually realized these accounts were not mere legends, but integral parts of the islanders' historical narratives, akin to how other cultures preserve and pass down pivotal events. The tales of giants were discussed with a reverence and authenticity that suggested they were considered as factual as any other historical event. Driven by curiosity and a desire to document these stories, Marius began interviewing islanders and gathering first-hand witness accounts from those who claimed to have encountered giants. His meticulous research culminated in the publication of his book, Solomon Island Mysteries Adventures, where he meticulously detailed these accounts, alongside other intriguing phenomena, including his own observations of a UFO event in the Solomon Islands and discussions on global conspiracies involving his home country, Australia. Through his work, Marius aimed to shed light on these overlooked aspects of history, challenging mainstream interpretations and inviting readers to reconsider what they thought they knew about ancient civilizations and the mysteries that still surround them. Before I delve further, it's essential to consider the context. This was a time predating the widespread use of the internet. Information wasn't as easily accessible or interconnected as it is today. This was particularly true in remote places like the Solomon Islands, where internet access ranked low on the government's list of priorities. This matters because the native islanders described their giants, often depicted as towering over 10 feet tall, with long black, brown, or reddish hair, in a manner consistent with similar descriptions found in other cultures worldwide. Their accounts were rooted in their own cultural narratives and traditions, seemingly unaffected by modern internet influences or the dissemination of global stories. Unlike some might think, the islanders' depiction of giants wasn't a result of internet trends or hearsay from other cultures. Their stories had been passed down through generations, shaping their collective memory and understanding of their own history. The notion of giants wasn't a sensational discovery for them. Rather, it was an accepted part of their cultural fabric, akin to how other societies regard their foundational myths or historical figures. To the islanders, the giants were not mythical creatures, but real beings who once existed alongside them. Their existence was woven into everyday life and belief systems, forming an integral part of their identity and worldview. This perspective underscores the richness of their cultural heritage and the depth of their historical continuity, independent of external influences or modern interpretations. One of the most intriguing stories recounted in Marius's book revolves around a woman named Mango. According to the tale, Mango was abducted by giants when she was young and spent approximately 25 years living among them. During this time, her family believed she had perished and had performed funeral rites in her memory, unaware of her captivity with the giants. Mango was eventually discovered in a garden on the northeast coast of the island, but her return was far from ordinary. She appeared in a frenzied state, exhibiting symptoms like foaming at the mouth, and notably, she was pregnant, a revelation that raised more questions than it answered. As the story goes, Mango had been taken as a wife by one of the giants, a notion difficult for many to comprehend. When the local people found her in the garden, they attempted to restrain or capture her, but her skin was exceptionally slippery, making it challenging to hold her down. In a stroke of ingenuity, one man devised a plan using rough leaves to gain a grip on her and bind her securely with vines. After some time, Mango gave birth to a child, a half-giant boy. Tragically, the boy's life was short-lived, as he passed away at the tender age of 5. Fearing the implications of his existence, one of the men decided to end the child's life, fearing a repetition of the events that led to Mango's tragic captivity. Despite returning to her people, Mango never fully recovered her sanity and eventually passed away. Her story remains a haunting reminder of the mysterious and sometimes harrowing encounters that shape the folklore and history of the Solomon Islands. In his comprehensive exploration, Marius documented numerous accounts of giant sightings on the island in his book. What's particularly intriguing is the implication that if we dismiss these stories as mere fiction, we inadvertently question the validity of countless other historical accounts worldwide that also mention giants, including those found in ancient texts, such as the Bible. The Bible, revered for its spiritual teachings, also serves as a profound historical record of events that unfolded in antiquity. Archaeologists often rely on biblical accounts to guide their excavations, leading to the discovery of artifacts, treasures, and insights into ancient civilizations. This attests to the Bible's credibility as a historical document of remarkable accuracy. For example, 1 Samuel 17:4-7 provides a vivid description of Goliath, a formidable champion from Gath, detailing his imposing height and his armor made of bronze. The passage meticulously describes his equipment, including a massive spear and shield, highlighting the meticulous detail found in biblical texts concerning historical figures like Goliath. These ancient writings not only serve as spiritual and moral guides, but also offer valuable insights into the historical context of various civilizations. The mention of giants in such texts encourages us to consider the possibility that these beings were indeed a part of human history, viewed not merely as mythical creatures, but as significant characters in the narratives of ancient cultures. This perspective invites further exploration into the intersections of myth, history, and archaeological evidence, challenging us to reconsider our understanding of the past and its extraordinary dimensions. Goliath, as recounted in the Bible, was described as a towering giant, standing at an impressive 9 feet and 9 inches tall, roughly the height of a modern-day basketball hoop. His helmet alone weighed a substantial 30 pounds, comparable to carrying a large bucket on one's head. To add to this remarkable stature, imagine wearing a t-shirt weighing about 150 pounds, akin to carrying the weight of another person on your chest. And if that wasn't challenging enough, Goliath wielded a massive metal spear weighing around 30 pounds, alongside a formidable sword, likely as large and weighty as the one David used to vanquish him. This depiction isn't merely a tale, but a documented historical event involving a significant conflict between Israel and the Philistines. What makes the Bible particularly intriguing is its reference to other historical records, hinting that many stories may be abridged versions of more detailed accounts found elsewhere. For centuries, Goliath's story captivated readers, myself included, focusing primarily on his singular account. However, the Bible reveals that Goliath was not alone in his stature. He had brothers who were also giants. In 2 Samuel 21:6 onwards, the text describes multiple giants who were adversaries in battles against Israel. These giants hailed from the same region as Goliath and met their demise in various confrontations. The concept of giants isn't confined to Goliath's era alone. It dates back to Genesis, where they were known as Nephilim. These beings were renowned for their extraordinary size and strength, existing both before and after the Great Flood. They are among the earliest recorded giants in human history. The acknowledgement of giants in ancient texts suggests that they were a distinct race of beings that once inhabited the earth. If we consider this historical context, the giants reported in the Solomon Islands could potentially be among the last remnants of this ancient lineage, preserving a legacy from a time when beings of colossal stature were part of human experience and mythology. This perspective invites us to explore the intersection of myth, history, and archaeology, challenging our understanding of the past and the extraordinary beings that inhabited it. I've shared stories of sightings and cultural connections with you, and if you're enjoying this content, please consider subscribing to our channel and liking this video. But there's one more incredible account I haven't mentioned yet, a military story from soldiers who claim they faced giants in the Solomon Islands and lived to tell the tale. The Battle of Guadalcanal unfolded from August 7, 1942 to February 9, 1943 during World War II on and around Guadalcanal in the Solomon Islands. It marked a crucial offensive by the Allies against Japan, aiming to establish bases on Guadalcanal and Tulagi to counter Japanese positions, particularly Rabaul on New Britain. From August to November, the Japanese made numerous attempts to reclaim Guadalcanal, resulting in frequent naval and air battles. The pivotal naval battle of Guadalcanal in early November saw the Allies decisively sink the last Japanese ships. By December, the Japanese abandoned their efforts to retake the island, evacuating their remaining forces by February 1943. However, what's less known is that Japanese troops faced a dual threat during their occupation. Allegedly, these soldiers encountered enormous creatures, giants standing between 10 to 15 feet tall, on the islands. According to reports, the Japanese engaged these giants in combat, but their weapons proved ineffective. Many soldiers perished in these encounters, with some taken away by the giants and others hiding in fear. These events deeply affected the troops, haunting them with memories of their comrades' screams and making sleep elusive. The encounters with these giants added a surreal and unsettling chapter to the already intense and brutal history of the Battle of Guadalcanal. These accounts, while debated and lacking conclusive proof, add a fascinating layer to the historical narrative of World War II in the Pacific, blending military history with tales of the unexpected and unexplained. They underscore how war can intersect with folklore and myth, leaving lasting impressions on those who lived through such extraordinary and challenging times. Whether you choose to believe this story or not, one indisputable fact remains recorded. The Japanese, known for their historical preference to choose death over surrender, ultimately abandoned their mission and retreated. Like any narrative, be it legend, folklore, or tale, there are always those who prioritize factual evidence, which presents a challenge for this particular story. For instance, skepticism surrounds the credibility of the Japanese accounts of encountering giants. The Solomon Islands have been inhabited for over 32,000 years, and extensive surveys for mineral resources were conducted in the 1950s and 60s. If such giants had existed, it is likely they would have been discovered during these comprehensive explorations. Another plausible explanation could be that the Japanese encountered indigenous peoples who employed guerrilla warfare tactics, similar to what was witnessed in conflicts like the Vietnam War, to resist and combat the occupying forces. Tragically, some of these indigenous groups were historically associated with cannibalism, which may have contributed to stories of people being eaten. Critics make a compelling argument that deserves consideration. They suggest that what the Japanese soldiers encountered in the Solomon Islands might simply have been exceptionally tall individuals. Let me elaborate. Throughout history, there have been cases of gigantism, a rare medical condition characterized by an overproduction of growth hormones in children or adolescents. This condition can cause individuals to grow unusually tall, or, in extreme cases, to continue growing uncontrollably. There are notable examples of individuals recorded in history who reached heights that could be considered giant-like. One such figure is Robert Wadlow, an American who stood at an astonishing 8 feet 11 inches tall, making him the tallest person ever documented. His growth continued unabated until his death. Another prominent case is Sultan Kösen, a farmer from Turkey, currently recognized as the tallest living person at 8 feet 2 inches. Sultan Kösen holds Guinness World Records for having the largest hand, measuring 27.5 centimeters, and the second largest feet, measuring 36.5 centimeters. His condition required medical intervention to halt his growth, as it significantly affected his health and quality of life. These examples illustrate how individuals with gigantism can attain remarkable heights due to abnormal hormonal levels affecting their growth. This perspective offers a plausible explanation that what might have been interpreted as encounters with giants in historical accounts could indeed have been interactions with individuals affected by this rare yet medically documented condition. Considering these historical and medical insights adds a nuanced layer to the discussion, suggesting that tales of giants in various cultures could stem from encounters with individuals whose extraordinary height was a result of physiological conditions rather than mythical beings. This perspective invites us to explore the intersection of medical science and cultural folklore, enriching our understanding of how human perceptions and medical realities intertwine throughout history. Imagine you're deep in a jungle and suddenly see Sultan Kösen walking towards you. I think I'd yell out, "Giants! Giants are here!" Personally, I'm still amazed by the towering height of basketball players. They're truly remarkable. The sheer height difference is astonishing. For many, this alone would qualify as giant-like, possibly echoing similar perceptions from the past. Consider someone like Boirayon, standing tall at 7 feet 7 inches. If, centuries from now, archaeologists unearthed his grave and discovered a leg bone taller than anything seen in today's population, they might conclude that giants once roamed the earth. The fact that such individuals excel in sports like the NBA underscores that giants can possess remarkable athleticism. They can move swiftly, potentially dominating others with their physical advantages. Throughout history, there have been numerous instances of fraudsters and tricksters who claim to have discovered giants, often presenting pictures with bones that were either artificially assembled or digitally altered. One of the most infamous cases in American archaeology is the Cardiff giant. Unearthed on October 16, 1869, behind William Newell's barn in Cardiff, New York, it was a 10-foot-tall, 3,000-pound petrified man. The Cardiff giant quickly became a sensation, reinforcing beliefs in a lost race of giants. The discovery was so widely believed that even President Abraham Lincoln referenced it when discussing the age of Niagara Falls and the existence of extinct mastodons. The orchestrator of the Cardiff giant hoax, George Hull, devised the scheme to demonstrate how easily people could be deceived. This historical episode serves as a reminder of the importance of skepticism and critical thinking when evaluating extraordinary archaeological finds and historical accounts. It illustrates how legends of giants can emerge from both genuine discoveries and elaborate fabrications, shaping cultural beliefs and captivating imaginations throughout the ages. The story revolves around a historical hoax known as the Cardiff giant, orchestrated by a man named George Hull in 1869. Hull, who was engaged in a theological debate over biblical references to giants called Nephilim, had a confrontation with Reverend Turk and his followers at a Methodist revival meeting. The dispute centered on Genesis 6:4, which describes giants as the offspring of angels and women. Reverend Turk linked contemporary newspaper reports of giant sightings to biblical accounts, suggesting that such creatures might have been real. Hull, a staunch atheist, attempted to prove that the newspaper stories were fabricated, and did not support biblical claims. However, he failed to discredit the reports convincingly, losing the argument. Angered by his defeat and wanting to illustrate how easily people could be deceived, Hull conceived a plan. In 1868, he collaborated with a man named H.B. Martin to create a colossal hoax. They hired workers to carve a massive block of gypsum measuring 10 feet 4.5 inches tall in Fort Dodge, Iowa. To give the gypsum figure an appearance of antiquity, they treated it with various acids and stains. In November 1868, Hull transported the giant gypsum figure by train to his cousin William Newell's farm. The entire scheme cost him $2,600, a substantial sum at the time, which would be equivalent to about $60,000 in today's currency. The gypsum giant was buried in a hole on Newell's farm, awaiting its grand reveal. Almost a year later, on October 16, 1869, during a well-digging operation on the farm conducted by Gideon Emmons and Henry Nichols, the giant was discovered. The news spread like wildfire, captivating the public's imagination. Despite efforts to maintain the illusion, the Cardiff giant soon faced scrutiny. Many believed in its authenticity, fueled by convincing photographs circulated at the time. Even today, some of these images persist, perpetuating the myth. However, closer examination and subsequent investigations revealed the truth. The Cardiff giant was a meticulously crafted hoax, designed to challenge and expose the gullibility of the public. This historical episode serves as a cautionary tale about skepticism and critical thinking in the face of extraordinary claims. It underscores how myths and legends, fueled by both genuine curiosity and deliberate deception, can shape cultural beliefs and captivate imaginations across generations. Interestingly, these images were actually created for a Photoshop contest, not to deceive anyone. They originated from the Weekly World News, a tabloid known for publishing humorous hoaxes and jokes. However, some people mistook these fabricated images for real and shared them online, perpetuating the confusion. This confusion is a major reason why many skeptics doubt stories about giants. It raises the question, how do we distinguish between genuine accounts and fabricated ones? These tales have persisted for centuries, filled with mysteries and phenomena that defy explanation. It would be naive to assume that everything in the world is straightforward. Even after recounting this tale, I still feel like there's much more to uncover.